Hello, this is John Paval with Access Arts Live. I am here to do a live stream interview about the upcoming Vox Novus 15 Minutes of Fame, which will be taking place on this Saturday evening, May 9th. This will be with Alisa Rose on baritone violin and Monica Chew on the clavichord. I'll tell you a little bit about the two performers, Alisa Rose and Monica Chew. Alisa, who will be playing the baritone violin, she's a Grammy-nominated violinist. She trained at the San Francisco Conservatory, and she teaches at the San Francisco Conservatory. She's performed as an ambassador of the U.S. State Department throughout Eastern Europe. She's been at Carnegie Hall, NPR's Weekend Edition, the TEDx Alcatraz, Song of the Mountains on PBS, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And her companion in this live stream, Monica Chew on the clavichord, she's an Oakland-based composer and pianist. She got a master's at the conservatory in piano, and then about 10 years ago, she started composing, and so now she has become a somewhat prolific composer since 2017 or so. And her work, we're told, has been featured at Verdant Vibes, at the Hot Air Music Festival, at the Left Coast Chamber Ensemble's Intersection program. San Francisco Classical Voice has referred to her works as monumental and stunning. 15 Minutes of Fame is the brainstorm of Robert Voisi.
Hi, John. How are you?
I'm doing okay. We're getting to be, regular live streaming buddies here.
Indeed.
Before we do anything else, tell me how this process works. So this Saturday, the two of Alisa Rose and Monica Chew, they're going to be playing 15 one-minute pieces, which were composed for them to play as an ensemble. Is that the idea?
Correct.
Who picks the music? Do you pick the music, or do the musicians do it, or is it collaborative?
It's collaborative. Oh, Monica.
Hello.
Hi, it's good to see you.
It's great to see you. Sorry it took me a little longer to drive back than usual.
No
Hello,
worries.
John. Nice to meet you, and thanks for having us on.
Yeah, Monica, John was talking to us about the selection process. So I was just telling him how, we sort of kind of have a single filter, and then we give it to you and Alisa to pick the type of pieces. Let me ask you, when you and Alisa got all these scores, I thought it was around 60. Was that about correct?
It was. Yeah, it was a difficult process this time, actually. Because it was for a new type of ensemble that I don't think anybody has ever tried before. So who knows if they will ever try it again?
Yeah, who knows? Well, maybe. But why don't you tell us a little bit about, what's the, we were talking a little bit about that you guys are composers. So not only are you musicians looking for pieces to play, right? But you specifically have been, the shoe's been on the other foot. You've been one of those composers selected for 15 Minutes of Fame.
That's true. I mean, the whole process is actually very similar for me as either a composer or a performer. It's like all just about exploration and trying to find new ideas and new sounds. And so, hi, Alisa. We had a lot of fun reading through all the submissions together and figuring out how to make that ensemble work. Sure. How was the score selection process for you?
Well, for me, it was. We didn't really realize that how much the volume of our two instruments would be an issue, so that made it tricky in the score selection. But otherwise, it was really fun to read through everyone's ideas and see different composers' works from around the world.
And I think I was a little bit before John was talking about period instruments. Alyssa, your instrument isn't really a period instrument, right? Is it like the fiddle, a baritone violin? Is that what they normally
You
call
know,
a
I should
fiddle?
probably research its history. I heard Daryl Anger play it on his album, The Diary of a Fiddler, which is a really great album, by the way. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So I looked it up, and it's baritone strings on a normal violin. And they're sometimes they're called octave strings. So they make the instrument here. I have it out, so it's just about to practice. They make the instrument just sound an octave lower. It's the same strings as a normal violin, and it's the same spacing and everything. And this is a violin someone just gave me. It's not anything special. And well, if it is, I don't know. I think it was kind of cracked, so I had them glue it back together and then just put on these strings. Had been like living in someone's closet. But the strings have some, personality to them that makes them very different than a violin. They're a very different color, and they're like, I was telling Monica, they're kind of like thick and rubbery because they're an octave down. So you can't play with a lot of distinction. You can't play really fast, but you can play all these cool like harmonics and overtones. They give it all these different colors. So I don't think it has anything historical. I think it's really from the fiddle world. And it doesn't have a lot of volume. So it hasn't like, it wouldn't work in a string quartet or something. It can't compete. But it does really well in a recorded setting. It sounds great with like under voices. Turns out it's a lot louder than a clavichord, even though it's also very quiet.
I was going to ask you that question because you can't compete against a viola, right? But the clavichord,
Oh
Sorry.
Yeah, it's way quieter than a viola, but way louder than a clavichord.
Every we were talking about period and instruments. I mean, that was one of the reasons why the piano, for all the people listening, why the piano took over, because it was so much louder and more dynamic than the clavichord or the harpsichord, right, Monica? I mean,
Yes, absolutely. It's been an interesting experience as a classical musician. I normally never have to play with a monitor. But we absolutely had to, even just for rehearsal, have that. Otherwise, it was just too hard. And one thing that go on.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to ask if you could talk a little bit about the pieces that you picked. Was there anything that stood out to you?
Oh, well, I was just going to say something along those lines. Since we both compose, Alisa composes and I compose, and we write for each other. There's a tension between wanting to write something interesting and also being a performer, and like wanting to write something where the whole program is going to be relatively not easy to put together but doable, and you may not stretch yourself.
My question was, and you're sort of skirting around it. You're making a selection of 15 pieces. What's your standard? Were you trying to make it thematic? Or was it just, I'm just playing the stuff I like? Or
it was to play the pieces that were interesting to us and made sense musically. I mean, that was my selection.
Okay.
And there were definitely more things that we had to say no to and not include because of the ensemble issues that may have worked on a regular violin and a regular piano. So that was, that always happens when you're playing an unusual instrument. But
I guess you had composers who were not familiar with the instruments, and they thought they'd take a shot at it,
right.
and sometimes it just didn't work. It's like you throw the paper on the wall and it sticks or it doesn't.
Yeah,
and
sometimes
are there
balance-wise, or sometimes certain aspects would be sort of unplayable.
Okay. Now, did you know any of these composers? Did you recognize any of them? And when the composers that you ended up choosing the pieces by, do you know any of these composers, or was this all new to you completely?
Well, I do, because I participated last time as a performer on clavichord, so I recognized many names from the submission. Yeah.
Okay, but these are not like people that you run into, that you know in life personally. It's just
I
kind of.
haven't met any of them in person except for Alyssa this time, which is really unfortunate. But I mean, it's also the great thing about Vox Novus and Rob's program, because we never could have afforded to put this program together ourselves
And are
without.
they from different countries? Or are they all from the U.S. or?
Yeah, we've got somebody from Madagascar, some Germans, some Americans. Rob, you might know better because you have talked to many of these regulars more.
It's true. Let me take a quick
Yeah,
look.
check it out. Now, are there any particular pieces that you're most excited about? I don't want you to diss any of the 15 by saying that a couple of pieces are the ones you're most interested in. But I mean, I'm a lyric tenor and I have sung recitals. And I know when I sing recitals, there are a couple of pieces that, oh, I really just love doing those. Everything that I'm singing is because I love singing it. But there are any pieces in these 15 that stand out for you that you'd want to tell us about? I always try doing this with Robert, and he never picks out favorites for me. I'm trying to get you guys to come up with something so that people say, "Oh, I should tune in to hear this," because
Well,
There's
this is
one
like.
that's about rain. I'll just tell you about a few of them. I don't know that they're favorites.
Sure, please
but
do.
there's
Yeah, let's
different
do that.
characters. There's one that's about rain, and it has a lot of like left hand, like just left hand articulation on the fiddle, along with the clavichord,
Okay.
and it's a really cool color. I like that
Uh-huh.
one. I like that snowflake jig. It just is a sort of a beautiful one based on a Emily Dickinson poem. I have no idea how to say the composer's name.
Mate Baruch, I think.
Yes.
That's okay. You guys they can all tune in and find their names later.
Yeah.
And
but
it just has a sort of a really nice shape to it. I don't know how to describe. It sort of unfolds.
Snowflake
has a little jig
is-
in the middle and it
yeah.
closes. And the shape
Snow-
of the whole thing is within a minute. It's hard to make a nice shape, actually.
Yeah, that's by Mate Balok. He's a Hungarian composer and associate professor at the Liszt Academy of Music. My Lord.
There you go. There's a jazzy one by Edward Straumann. Not jazzy, sorry. It's a swing, sort of like it has a nice swing to it. And I like the feel of it. That actually, it's kind of, the baritone kind of has a husky sound to it that I think works well as sort of a jazz singer in that one.
there's a piece by, I think, D. Ferretti, whose title I forgot, but it's another one where these quicksilver mood changes. And I think that one is also under a minute, which is really impressive. And another piece by a very mysterious composer, Raphael Elaine E., with a very poetic title that I can't recall the whole thing right now. It's something about.
Here I have it. The screeching of crows do not silence the footsteps of fools.
Yes, yeah. I'm looking at that.
Yes, it was amazing use of many harmonics, which I think probably you never tried before on baritone violin, Alyssa. Is that right?
No. Some of them I was like, oh, I guess that works,
Yeah, and I see she says in her bio, I'm an amateur composer working an office job full time. I compose on the side. Well, I was very glad that the two of you could join us and actually tell us something about this concert that's going on. There's one more subject. I was discussing this with Robert before, and I would love to get your response to it, because why a clavichord instead of a piano?
Oh, why not? I mean, when am I ever going to have a chance to play with baritone violin on clavichord again? And Rob is so wonderful. He's always up for anything crazy. I mean, I love half the reason that I love following 15 Minutes of Fame is because he's always soliciting works for like accordion or like saxophone voice or whatever. And it's really cool. And I think what's necessary for music to stay alive is, new players, new listeners, new works. And, it's really an important project. Who doesn't love exploring different genres and centuries of music. I mean,
Yeah, I think,
Sure.
I think these instruments, it's always, as a composer and as a player, I think when you can come in with some cool colors and some interesting textures, and it's a great place to start exploring. And I think starting with these like more unusual instruments, it's like, oh, what can I do with these colors? It's like you get a totally different palette as a composer. And it makes people compose different things, which is cool, and come up with different ideas. And so I think it's very fun to do that. And in the same way, I think, if the genre lines or the century lines or whatever, the period lines are more open, then there's more room for creativity if things aren't too boxed in. I think both the instrumentation and that sort of, that they're not defined by a certain period, gives composers reign to create in a really creative way.
As long as it's under 1 minute.
As long as it's under 1 minute.
And is any of this music, is there any extended techniques on the
yes,
clavichord that you're doing?
yes.
Okay.
Somebody wrote in percussive effects, which actually Alisa wrote 2 years ago when she participated as a composer on my clavichord set.
Mhm.
So somebody asked for that. Alisa, in her piece that she wrote called Behind the Curtain, asked for chord clusters, which is, you can do on any keyboard instrument.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, it's when you go like, oh, keyboard's not on, but that's probably good. You just go like that.
Okay. So you just hit a bunch of keys.
Yeah.
Not particularly selected to be a chord. It's just hitting a bunch of keys. Or is it hitting a bunch of keys in a particular area of the keyboard?
Right. In an area.
Yeah,
And-
area.
And people actually do try to notate whether or not it's chromatic, or sometimes they might just ask for white. But most of the time most of the time I interpret it to be player's choice.
Okay. Well, we'll see how that works out on Saturday. Listen, thanks a lot for taking the time.
So
And,
thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having us.
This has been awesome.
Yeah, so I'll be saying goodbye to all of you wonderful guests, and so that I can then do a little segue off to say goodbye to our followers and thank them for
Thank
tuning
you.
in.
Take care.
So,
Thank you.
okay, it was great. Thanks for
Nice to meet you,
tuning
Bob.
in. Well, folks, that turned out to be a marathon session, more than I anticipated, which I think is terrific. I will now sign off and say ciao for now. Thanks for tuning in.